So, today we're exploring the lives of women seemingly have it all successful careers, thriving families, social recognition, yet still feel unfulfilled. And that's where the question lies. Today, we are looking not at just for what they have, but how they have to live day to day and what patterns or expectations might be quietly weighting them down. I'm Saima. Welcome to my show, Soul Spark. So, Dr. Christian, welcome back to the show.
Yes, pleasure to be here and to serve your audience.
It's my honor to have you here. So, Dr. Christian, when you observe women living this way, what do you see as the key habits or mindsets that keep them feeling unfulfilled? And how can they begin to shift toward a life that feels truly aligned with their inner needs?
Well, the thing that is most prominent and that needs a little bit of context because in particularly in the world of high society, there's an unwritten rule that says that it is not done to speak, express the deeper, the darker, more negative feelings and thoughts. And I am not here to challenge that rule because I see how it came into being, what it is doing, and why it is important. What I do wish to do is because I feel that the time is right for it to give a voice to what the negative consequences are of doing it in the way it has been done until now. And that is, it leads, first of all, to and encourages actually to repress the feelings that are uncomfortable, unpleasant, and negative. The disadvantages of doing that is that there is a principle at play which many people are not aware of. And that is that the more and the stronger you numb the feelings and thoughts you don't want to feel and think, which actually means that you're pushing it into your subconscious, you suppress it thinking that it is gone, but it isn't, not really. But at the same time, doing it, and when you do it for a longer amount of time, then you also start to restrict your ability to experience and to feel the feelings you do want to feel and the thoughts you do want to think. And that is therefore the explanation and the reason why women who have it all and have been trained in a way to numb themselves because out of necessity, report back to me that at some point they actually don't feel able anymore to be happy.
What you just shared, Christian, really sheds light on the of the struggle, actually highlighting the habits and mindsets that quietly drain fulfillment. Makes it clear that unfulfillment isn't about lack of success, I would say, but about misalignment between inner needs and daily choices. I feel, and I really like how you pointed toward actionable shifts. It turns insight into possibility and gives people a sense of agency over their own lives. Now, building on that, how does the way this women structure their daily lives, their habits, routines, and priorities impact their emotional and mental well being?
Well, um, let me first be clear, but the women I mainly work with are those who have transitioned to have stepped back from a very demanding career for instance, in corporate, and they may have sold their business and they have transitioned into a life where they have more time on their hands. They can spend more time with being alone, and they can spend more time doing the things they actually love doing, which for which they didn't have the time when they were still very, very active. So that is basically mostly where my experiences are coming from. And what is important is the following.
Hmm.
The transition turns out, and that is what they report back to me, turns out to be much more difficult than they expected. And there are reasons for that. And yes, I support them in transitioning and to make the transition quicker and help them to get through the other end in a way that they end up really living the life they so much long to live by removing what stands in the way and and supporting them in what is actually causing them or causing it to make it difficult for them. But the thing here is this: transition into a life where you have more time for yourself is not always a voluntary and conscious decision you make. Sometimes it's a woman can be or feeling forced to make a transition through, for instance, a situation of burnout. For instance, where there is a certain physical diagnosis, which makes it clear that the pace of the kind of life they are living is not wise to maintain, and they simply have to step back to give that what is going on their attention and their care. And then the situation becomes such that they make the transition unprepared. They are suddenly confronted with the effects of such transition. And then the question becomes, um, is it possible? Is it doable? Is it maybe wise to already start thinking about how best to prepare for such a transition in case either that one is comes to a point that they just have to make the transition, whether they like it or not, or when they come to the point where it actually is something that they desire. That's basically what I then want to give as a point of contemplation.
Hmm. It's really inspiring to hear, actually, Dr. Christian, how the women you work with have, you know, begun to transition their lives in ways that honor their well being. That kind of shift, I feel, shows how intentional changes to habits and routines can ripple out into emotional and mental balance rather than just being about ticking off tasks. Now, that makes me wonder, are there societal or cultural expectations that make it harder for women to prioritize their own fulfillment over external success?
Yes, and you could see it in two ways. What basically causes great suffering is that unknowingly, particularly the affluent women over 40 I work with, they have put so much emphasis on maintaining the wealth they've perhaps inherited, they are born into, or maybe they come from a poor background and they have worked so hard to to generate the wealth they now experience, which also comes with striving for status, striving for even perhaps fame, for outer recognition and that can come in many ways. Which means, with which I mean to say is that generally, at first, particularly in the early years, there's so much hunger, I would say, to and focus and to attach oneself on the outer world and possession and money and the relationships that will support one another in whatever you want to achieve. And then some of them, not all, have these private moments that they suddenly have to admit that now they have established everything and accomplished everything that they wanted. Somehow, somewhere, they still feel empty, unfulfilled, and or unhappy. And that is then, you could say, and the answer might already be obvious. It is because of the main focus on the outer world and what is happening there, and to find the happiness and so on and so forth out there, it causes us, and I include myself because I've experienced it myself, I talk from experience, it causes us to slowly but gradually lose the connection with our essence, our true self, our soul. And that it is actually the and it is an illusionary disconnection, because the connection is always there, has been always there, is there here now, and will there be for until the end of time. It is the situation is that we something has happened that gave us the illusion that this connection is not there anymore. And actually, what I'm now pointing out, and that is a sort of a tip or golden nugget, if you will, if indeed it is true what I'm saying, can you then hear, listeners, the good news in it? Because it means that at the same time, there's the resolution right in the middle of it, which means when going through a process, and that is something that I actually offer the first moment I start to work with someone, and that is to re-establish, and note here, I use the word re-establish consciously, to re-establish a more direct, conscious connection with your essence, your true self, your true nature, your soul. So that's one part. The other part is this. I spoke about the unspoken rules in high society. And the more I've been working with affluent women, the more it started to dawn on me how much fear there is, very much underlying, very much subconsciously, of losing privileges, of becoming an outcast, not anymore belonging, or not anymore be welcome to the circles they are a member of. And because of that fear that they might lose their position, their privileges, the connections, and being a part of that community, it 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 unknowingly, and something that mm, mostly is unnoticed and greatly, I think, underestimated, how much that kind of culture is cultivating, and that is the habit of pretense. To train yourself to be obligated in a new way, to present yourself in all kinds of situations with a smile, even when you're falling apart inside, and give others the impression that you are doing fine and everything is well in your world, although it's not.
Mhm. That's really insightful. I would say that's really insightful point and insightful observation indeed, highlighting how the pressure to maintain wealth can create deep suffering. Like I said, shows a clear understanding of the unseen burdens women carry, and it's really powerful. I feel because it reminds us that external success doesn't automatically bring fulfillment, and noticing that tension is such an important first step toward reclaiming alignment and satisfaction. Now, with that in mind, can you share some small but some small shifts women can make in their lifestyle or mindset to feel more aligned and satisfied? Some small tips.
And here I'm going to give an answer that might be surprising and that might also not be that satisfying. And that is this: we live in a time where we are actually in a transition from the 3D reality into the fifth dimension. And to give you a kind of a short update, and for those who are not yet aware that that is happening, the fifth dimensional way of living is not a place to go to. It refers to an inner state of being. The transition into the fifth dimensional way of living happens within. Now, what is important is to know about it that first and foremost, it is at least as how I view it and experience it, it is not possible to jump into that 5D way of living just like that straight away. What is necessary is that we, from the 3D reality we're now living in and have been living in for centuries, we first move to the fourth dimension. The moving through the fourth dimension serves three essential um, 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 three essential functions. First, it is a time where we have been offered the opportunity to get greater clarity and greater understanding. And what I mean with that is the greater understanding of who we are, why we are here on earth, and in particular, what is it that we hold in our sub and unconscious that is responsible for the situation in which we now feel empty, unfulfilled, and unhappy. Secondly, it is a time that we already are invited to cultivate and to explore and to actually start living the qualities that awaits us in 5D already now here while we are still living in this 3D reality. The third, and it's the most important one, this moving through the fourth dimension serves to give us a chance to release, to resolve, to heal, and transform everything that is causing, again, all the things that causes us to feel unhappy. The reason for that is this. Imagine, in our life, living here in 3D, we have built up through experiences all kind of limiting beliefs, negative feelings, certain habits, all due to unpleasant experiences in the past, even sometimes traumatic experiences in the past. And so we are now at the stage where the life itself is giving us something that helps us to become conscious of what we are not yet or not anymore conscious of. Because usually what I'm talking about, the conditioning of the limited beliefs and negative feelings and the certain kind of habits we have cultivated, we call that the conditioning. We have stored that in our sub and unconscious. Now, how can we work with something of which we are not yet or not anymore conscious? And that is done through what is called mirrors. Another word for it is catalysts. The catalyst shows up in our lives because of this whole transition period in the form of certain particular situations that is the mirror, the catalyst that points at something that we need to look at. It can come through a meeting with a particular person. It can come through, again, I mentioned already, through a physical condition that works and like a wake up call to let us know that there's something that needs to be addressed. There's something that wishes to be looked at and being faced. What I mean to say with this is this. Very recently, I noticed that the type of clients that approach me and ask for assistance have changed. Also, the issues they are reporting back to me are more painful, more severe, and more complex. That asks for a particular approach in which new and sometimes upgraded methods that already exist in order to address it well. The way to address these kind of issues that have become over time that severe and that complex cannot be done with a simple exercise that you do for a week or a month. This really requires to be willing to step into what is called a deeper transformational process.
Mhm.
Now, what is important to mention here is the moment I mention this deeper transformational process, there I can imagine that some listeners they feel immediately alerted. Immediately the alarm goes off, and immediately fear and resistance is stirring up. Now, let me be clear, and again, based on my experience, that the fear and resistance comes out of ignorance. The moment I have a conversation with the person who seeks assistance and I sense the fear or resistance popping up, the moment I say that the deeper transformational process is necessary to address the issues and really to come to a full resolution of it, because that's is what I'm aiming for, to create changes that are durable and sustainable and also long term, that they long last. And then when I address the fear and the resistance in such a way that I know is helpful, I give them the knowledge and I give them the idea of how it works and what I can offer to make them feel more comfortable. I see and sense that the fear and resistance immediately reduces. Now, answering your question, I do, I can offer certain tips that I sense and now know and trust that will be helpful. And that is first of all.
Mhm. That's really
Yeah,
hard.
Yeah, yeah, of course. If you want to make a comment, please do, and then I come up with the tip that I have in mind afterwards. So please, yes. What is it you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say that I really love how your friend Catalyst has, this subtle yet profound moments, whether it's meeting a particular person, like I said, or receiving a wake up call, that draw attention to something we need to see or address. It really highlights that how change often begins with awareness, sometimes in ways we don't expect. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes. So here is the tip number one that I would like to give. Based on my experience, and for the years that I have now doing this work, 60 plus years, I myself, in my own transformational journey and in the work I do, I've put so much emphasis, and I hear others putting so much emphasis on mindset. It's the slogan is work on your mindset, change your mindset, do affirmations or journaling or do meditation, whatever you do, reprogram your subconscious, and then everything will be all right and everything will change. I've come to the conclusion that that didn't work for me. And I also now slowly come to the conclusion that there are others like me who already start to experience that, all these things of working on my mind and working on my mindset is actually not giving me the results and the change that I'm looking for. And this is the reason. The mindset in itself is actually not the thing to work on because it is, and again, this is my way of working with it and viewing it. The mind slash the brain and how the brain functions is merely a vehicle. What matters is who you choose and allow to sit behind the steering wheel. Now, let me be clear. What kind of driver do I refer to? In my work, I consider ourselves, and that's one way of looking at it. There are other ways, but in this particular sense, I look at you, listeners, myself, as having three types of self. The lower self, which is also called the animal self, which is instinctual, impulsive, reactive. And the other, the second one, is the middle self, which is our human self. This is the self that I'm now speaking to, your adult self, the adult that is in this physical body and living this life. You are the operative power. You make the choices and decisions here, and you are supposed to sit behind the steering wheel of your life. The other drivers that I now mentioned, like the human self, you can see that as a subpersonality who is at the same time operating your mind. And then we have the third type, which is the higher self, also known as the angelic self. Now imagine this. Let the animal self sit behind the steering wheel of your mind. It is speeding up in 10 seconds from 0 to 100 miles, turning around suddenly, braking, turning left, putting it in gear, in driving backwards, turning again, and then brake and stop and don't go anywhere anymore. This is the impulsive kind of ride you're going to have when you allow your animal self to sit behind the steering wheel. Let's see what happens when you put your human self, the subpersonality in you, behind the steering wheel of your mind. You sit there and you think about going anywhere. Where shall we go? Or you know already where it is necessary to go, but you wonder, is that really the case? Is there maybe an other alternative? Or what might happen when I go there? Is it perhaps better to go there? Because, perhaps it's, yeah, and at the end of it, you find yourself having spent your day contemplating and have not taken actions at all. Now go, let's see how what the angelic self would do. The angelic self would say, let's try. Yeah, I know you don't yet know where, but just let's try. And here, the next traffic jam, keep on straight. Then you see that bridge there, cross the bridge. After the bridge, take the third street on your left, and then the second house on the right. That's where you need to be. Can you sense the difference in the kind of rides your mind is going to take?
Mm-mm. That's indeed a powerful reminder, I would say, and really that was really insightful the way you framed and put all it together. Now, as I just said, this was a 30 minutes podcast, so I would give you the time. Any messages for the listeners, and where they can find and connect with you?
Yes, thank you for giving me that opportunity to share because for anyone listening who feels that something of what I've shared resonated, I love to offer you a little bit. It's a short downloadable ebook called The 5 Steps to Transform Any Negative Feeling or Thought Anytime, Anywhere in 7 minutes or less. I created it because for many years in my own life, I carried negative emotions and thoughts far longer than I needed to, simply because no one ever showed me that this can be transformed much quicker, even when needed instantly in the moment. And the advantage of this little ritual I put together is that it prevents you from suppressing of what you don't like to feel or think, and instead to turn it into feelings and thoughts that energize and empower and uplift you. You'll find the link in the show notes. It's a simple download and you'll receive it by email. In addition, for those of you who have it all, yet still feel unfulfilled and sense the desire to take a deeper step to free yourself from what is burdening you, for you, I'm also offering a complimentary From Pointless to Purpose Treasure Map consultation. It's a 1 hour conversation where you can experience further how I work, ask your questions directly, and explore whether I'm the right person to assist you in making the changes that may set you free. Just to be clear, this is a no pressure consultation. There's no obligation. It is simply an invitation to explore.
That's noteworthy. And I would sincerely thank you, Dr. Christian, for joining us today on Soul Sparks with Saima. This conversation has offered so much clarity and actionable wisdom. And thank you for helping our listeners see how small shifts in mindset, awareness, and daily choices can make a real difference in reconnecting with their inner selves. This episode is especially for those seeking women who have it all but are unhappy in the way of living.